The issue is, where the blockchain's coming in is through trust. If I do a smart contract, where is it going to provide the trust so that I can rely on the other party to do what they're going to do? So trust arises when there's an agent who can be reasonably certain that an obligation will be met. If you are certain someone will pay you, you'll do the service. If you are certain that somebody will do the service, you'll pay them. Those are the obligations. Without trust, you're left with other mechanisms. You're left with simultaneous exchange, which is what was happening in the Seinfeld example. Or we have to find a mechanism for trust. And that mechanism is going to be, all sorts of things here. That mechanism for trust is going to be finding trustworthy people and working out how you know that they're trustworthy people, having relationships with them because you're dealing with them repeatedly in an infinite game, or being able to access the contractual law system that is designed to allow trust to surface. But that's costly, which is, of course, where we come in here. And finally, do other people, you can develop a reputation for dealing well outside of your relationship that you can see. So these are all sorts of things we use. But the whole idea of the blockchain is we don't have to use any of that stuff. In other words, we want to be dealing without trust. And so we want to give meaning to obligations without trust. We have to resolve the timing issue. Now, we can't resolve the timing issue, who goes first, but we want to make it as if everybody was doing their obligations at the same time so that they can't back out of them or tweak them or anything like that. So the fundamental unit of understanding any of this stuff, and this is what we teach in our program, is the obligation. The question is, what can you do with the blockchain to improve obligations working? So obligations are created if some specific state arises, which might be some external event, or it might be because somebody else has performed their obligation. In order to create an obligation, those states of what has occurred that creates the obligation must be recorded. So that's where the blockchain is going to come in as a infrastructure to be able to record obligations, send a signal that it's recorded, and ensure that it's all working. Now, the problem is that the performance of those obligations has to be verified. Now, you can imagine situations where this gets coded in to external data, such as if I'm worried about the delivery of something, I queue into an API for FedEx and I can verify that delivery. But in other situations, it's going to be a problem, especially if you're talking about the quality of stuff. And my favorite examples of this are sort of international trade examples where people order stuff on the internet and they don't get what they thought they were going to get. And in these particular cases up here, they are fairly dramatic in that regard. I like the little rug that gets ordered and it turns out to be the size of the photo. So obviously this is the number one impediment to people engaging in trade and buying stuff over the internet still. And so you can analyze this through obligation, create, record, and verify. What are the obligations? One obligation is payment, that you pay the merchant. When you pay the merchant, that creates an order. It's recorded by the sending of money, and you can verify that with a bank statement. When you deliver, that's an obligation. Once someone's paid, you have an obligation to send the thing to them. You can record that with a message, and you can verify it with a carrier receipt. And then the final one is the quality, that I get what I thought, what we mutually expected this transaction was about. That's created through the delivery. There's another message there, but the verification in the traditional way is done through the court. Now, as it turns out, if we ran this as a smart contract on the blockchain, all of this would be exactly the same, but for that bottom right-hand corner. As you watch here, the blockchain's way, that triggers a change in that. I mean, we can do the payment over the blockchain as well. There's not a critical part there. But you have a mechanism that has to substitute for the court, basically has to automate what a court could do. Given that you're actually involving real humans in this transaction, and it's humans' perceptions of what has occurred that is driving everything. So that is often regarded as a last mile problem or something that cannot be easily solved by the blockchain. But in my paper, I argue, yes, it can. because you can take a mechanism, which is basically a set of incentives encoded onto the blockchain that can make at least this international trade example work out. So you have to tie the performance to the reward, and you have to have some other things to generate trust.